Hi everybody, welcome to Chalkboard Yoga Studies. I'm Jacob Kyle. Thanks so much for joining us again for another episode. We're continuing what we were talking about last week with this episode. Last week we started talking about Ashtanga, the 8-limbed practices outlined in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, not to be confused with the Mysore Ashtanga method of Pattabhi Jois, although obviously there are connections. We're talking specifically about the Ashtanga, the 8-limbed practice as it's outlined in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the ancient seminal text of the yoga tradition. Okay, so the second four limbs of the practice are really a bit different because they're more ethereal. So in the first four, we're dealing with ethical principles, we're dealing with the physical practice, we're dealing with pranayama, we're really dealing with a lot of the physiological, the material, the embodied and on the ground kinds of practices. With the second four, we're really getting into the more ethereal, the much more subtle, the more transcendently geared limbs of the practice. So let's get started with the first one. So number 5 is pratyahara. Now pratyahara is perhaps the most neglected of the 8 limbs because it means sense withdrawal, and sense withdrawal is not really what we do best in our culture. We're very sensual in the sense that we're saturated with sensation. We're always looking at images. Contemporary capitalism really is a society that is rich in imagery, is rich in entertainment. So always at all times we're being bombarded with stimuli. So this is also a really important practice because pratyahara really creates the space for us to actually start to be able to arrive at or to experience the subtler realizations of the practice. So it's really important. So sense withdrawal. So if you're not practicing this, maybe give it a little bit of a look, because if you're watching 6 hours of television a day, or you're constantly glued to your phone or your laptop or your iPad, it's probably going to be hard to make the room for these other practices, which really require a lot of silence, a lot of kind of turning off the TV, turning off the radio, turning off the internet, turning off all of the many, many, many distractions that we have, so that we can start to really meditate, which is what the last 3 are. Now, I know last week that I said traditionally the 8 limbs were tackled one after the other. So you started with one, the yamas and niyamas, you worked your way up, and I said not in our contemporary scene is that really as necessary. But I think with these last 3, it's kind of necessarily a step-by-step process. So dharana is the word for concentration. So when you start meditating, you sit down, you close your eyes, your teacher tells you to focus on the breath, or whatever you're listening to, or maybe you were taught, and you focus on the breath, or you focus on some kind of object, whether it be a visual object or maybe a visualization in your mind's eye, you're looking at a yantra perhaps, or some other kind of focus. There is so much distraction, right? The streams of thought are crazy. You're constantly wandering off onto tangents of thought. And so dharana really is the practice of actually sitting down and choosing to single-pointedly concentrate on something, right? That's dharana. Now, dhyana is really a step up when that practice, after a while, it takes a long time, but after a while of single-pointedly concentrating on an object of meditation, this tradition at least says that you become one with that object. So the separation between our perception, our awareness, and the object that we're concentrating on starts to dissolve. And the subject and object become one experience. The perceiver and the perceived start to become one complementary, seamless experience. And then when that happens, when this starts to happen, that really creates the space, creates the conditions for samadhi. Samadhi is the ultimate goal of the yoga practice according to Patanjali's Ashtanga yoga method. Samadhi is integration. Samadhi is union. Samadhi is merging with the divine, or if you have an issue with that word or it seems too religious, you can think of it as merging with the cosmos. All of these Eastern traditions and a lot of these more mystical minded traditions believe in one ultimate truth, that is that there is only one thing, and all of us are expressions of that one thing. So samadhi is the experiential realization of that unity of experience, that oneness, that totality of being, that ground of capital B being, Sat Chitananda, being, consciousness, bliss, that experience of holistic integration. And that's, according to this tradition, the ultimate goal of the yogic path. And we'll talk about samadhi more some other day. There are actually many forms of samadhi that are spoken of in the Yoga Sutras, but for now we'll just say samadhi integration, samadhi union, the ultimate goal of the yoga practice. Okay, thanks so much for joining us. That's the end of the ASTANGA series. If you want to check out more Chalkboard Yoga Studies, you can look at our YouTube channel on 5 Tattvas for 5 Tattvas. If you're new to 5 Tattvas, check out 5tattvas.com. That's FIVETATTVAS.com. And on the website you can sign up for our 6-week Living with Intention email course. I've created this course for those of you who are looking to really bring intention, practices of intention into your life, practices of gratitude, of play, of receptivity, and several other intentions that you can start to really incorporate into your daily experience. And then also we have a great offering, our weekly e-zine, which includes these yoga studies, so you can get these videos to your inbox weekly. You can also get Dharma talks from Jimmy Nataraj, beautiful Dharma talks, 10 to 15 minute Dharma talks each week. And then we also include a letter, focusing on our focus of the month, and also several of our writings from our great writers on the blog who are going to be talking about different focuses of the month, as well as various topics on the yoga tradition and yoga philosophy. So we hope you'll join us in our other offerings. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week on the next Chalkboard Yoga Studies. Bye-bye. Shanti, Shanti.